Hi everyone, today's story comes from the book Donegal Fairy Stories by Seamus McManus, and it's called Manus the Miller. So, there was a man from the mountain named Donegal, once married the daughter of a stingy old couple who lived on the lowlands. He used to stay and work on his own wee patch of land all the week round till it came to Saturday evening, and on Saturday evening he went to his wife's father's to spend Sunday with him. Coming and going, he always passed the mill of Manus the miller, and Manus, who used to be watching him passing, always noticed and thought it strange that while he jumped the mill race going to his wife's father's on a Saturday evening, he had always to wade through it coming back. And at last he stopped Donal one Monday morning and asked him the meaning of it. "Well, I'll tell you," says Donal, says he. "It's this. My old father-in-law is such a very small eater that he says grace and blesses himself when I've only got a few pieces out of my meals, so I'm always weak coming back on Monday morning." Manus, he thought this over to himself for a while, and then says he, "Would you mind letting me go with you next Saturday evening? If you do, I promise you that you'll leap the mill race coming back." "I'll be glad to have you," says Donal. "Very well and good." When Saturday evening came, Manus joined Donal, and off they both trudged to Donal's father-in-law's. The old man was not too well pleased at seeing Donal bringing a fresh hand, but Manus, he didn't pretend to see this, but made himself as welcome as the flowers in May. And when supper was laid down on Saturday night, Manus gave Donal the nudge, and both of them began to tie their shoes as if they had got loose, and they tied and tied away at their shoes till the old man had eaten a couple of minutes, and then said grace and finished and got up from the table, thinking they wouldn't have the ill manners to sit down after the meal was over. But down to the table my brave Manus and Donal sat and ate their hearty skinful. And when the old fellow saw this, he was gruff and grumpy enough, and it was little they could get out of him between that and bedtime. But Manus kept a lively chat going, and told good stories that passed away the night, and when bedtime came and they offered Manus a bed in the room, Manus said no, that there was no place he could sleep, only one, and that was along the fireside. The old man and the old woman both objected to this, and said they couldn't think of allowing a stranger to sleep there, but all they could say or do wasn't any use, and Manus said he couldn't and wouldn't sleep in any other place, and insisted on lying down there. And lie down there he did, in spite of them all, and they all went off to their beds. But though Manus lay down, he was very careful not to let himself go to sleep, and when he was near about 2 hours lying, he hears the room door open easy, and the old woman puts her head out and listens, and Manus, he snored as if he hadn't slept for 10 days and 10 nights before. When the old woman heard this, she came on up the floor and looked at him, and saw him like as if he was dead asleep. Then she hastened to put a pot of water on the fire and began to make a pot of stirabout for herself and the old man, for this was the way, as Manus had well suspected, that they used to cheat Donal. But just in the middle of the cooking of the pot of stirabout, doesn't Manus roll over and pretend to waken up? Up he sits and rubs his eyes and looks about him and looks at the woman and at the pot on the fire. "Ah," says he, "is it here ye are, or is it morning with ye?" "Well, no," she says, "it isn't morning, but we've a cow that's not well, and I had to put a mash on the fire here for her. I'm sorry I wakened you." "Oh, no, no," says Manus, says he, "you haven't wakened me at all. It's this sore ankle I have here," says he, rubbing his ankle. "I've a very, very sore ankle," says he, "and it troubles me sometimes at night," he says, "and no matter how sound asleep I may be, it wakens me up, and I've got to sit up until I cure it." Says he, "There's nothing cures it but soot, till I rub plenty of soot out of the chimney on it." And Manus takes a hold of the tongs, and he begins pulling the soot down out of the chimney from above the pot, and for every one piece that fell on the fire there were 5 pieces that fell into the pot. And when Manus thought he had the posset well enough spiced with the soot, he raised up a little of the soot from the fire and rubbed his ankle with it. "And now," says he, "that's all right, and I'll sleep sound and not waken again till morning." And he stretched himself out again and began to snore. The old woman was pretty well vexed that she had had her night's work spoilt, and she went up to the room to the old man and told him what happened to the stirabout. He got into a bad rage entirely, and asked her was Manus asleep again, and she said he was. Then he ordered her to go down and make an oat scouter, and put it on the ashes for him. She went down and got the oatmeal and made a good scouter and set it on the ashes and then sat by it for the short while it would be doing. But she hadn't it many minutes on the ashes when Manus let a cry out of him, as if it was in his sleep, and up he jumps and rubs his eyes and looks about him, and when he saw her he said, "Och, is it here ye are? And I'm glad ye are," says he, "because I've a great trouble on me mind that's lying a load over me heart and wouldn't let me sleep, and I want to relieve me mind to ye," says Manus, "and then I'll sleep hearty and sound all the night after. I'll tell you the story," says he. So he catches hold of the tongs in his two hands, and as he told the story he would stir them about through the ashes. Says he, "I want to tell you that my father afore he died was a very rich man and owned no end of land. He had 3 sons, myself and Teddy and Tom, and the 3 of us were 3 good hard workers. I always liked Teddy and Tom, but however it came out, Tom and Teddy hated me, and they never lost a chance of trying to damage me with my father and turn him against me. He sent Teddy and Tom to school and gave them a grand education, but he only gave me the spade in me fist and sent me out to the fields. And when Teddy and Tom came back from school, they were 2 gentlemen and used to ride their horses and hunt with their hounds, and me they always made look after the horses and groom them and saddle them and bridle them, and be there in the yard to meet them when they would come in from their riding, and take charge of their horses, give them a rubbing down and stable them for them. In my own mind I used to think that this wasn't exactly fair or brotherly treatment, but I said nothing, for I liked both Teddy and Tom. And prouder of them every day got my father, and more every day he disliked me, until at long and at last, when he came to die, he liked Teddy and Tom that much, and he liked poor Manus that little, that he drew up his will and divided his land into 4 parts and left it in this way. Now, supposing, says Manus, says he, digging the point of the tongs into the scouter, supposing, says he, there was me father's farm. He cut it across this way, says he, drawing the tongs through the scouter in one way. Then he cut it across this way, says he, tossing away a quarter of the scouter with the point of the tongs he gave to me mother. And that quarter there, says he, tossing off the other quarter into the dirt, he gave to Teddy. And this quarter here, says he, tossing the 3rd quarter, he gave to Tom. And this last quarter, says Manus, says he, digging the point of the tongs right into the heart of the other quarter of the scouter and lifted it up and looking at it, this quarter, says he gave to the priest. And he pitched it as far from him down the floor as he could. And there, says he, throwing down the tongs, he left poor Manus what he is today, a beggar and an outcast. That, ma'am, says he, is my story, and now that I've relieved me mind, I'll sleep sound and well till the morning. And down he stretched himself by the fireside and begins to snore again. And the old woman, she started up to the room, and she told the old man what had happened to the scouter, and the old fellow got into a mighty rage entirely, and was for getting up and going down to have the life of Manus, for he was starving with the hunger. But she tried to soothe him as well as she could, and then he told her to go down to the kitchen and make something else on the fire for him. "Oh, it's no use," says she, "at trying to make anything on the fire, for there'll be some other ache coming on that fellow's ankle, or some other trouble on his mind, and he'll be getting up in the middle of it to tell me all about it. But I'll tell you what I'll do," says she. "I'll go out and I'll milk the cow, and I'll give you a good jug of sweet milk to drink, and that will take the hunger off you till morning." He told her to get up quick and go do it, or she would find him dead of the hunger. And off she went as quickly as she could, and took a jug off the kitchen dresser and slipped out, leaving Manus snoring loudly in the kitchen. But when Manus thought that she had had time to have the jug near filled from the cow, he slips out to the byre, and as it was dark he talked like the old man. And, says he, "I'll die with the hunger if you don't hurry with that." So she filled the jug, and she reached it to him in the dark, and he drank it off and gave her back the empty jug and went in and lay down. Then she milked off another jug for herself and drank it, and came slipping in and put the jug easy on the dresser so as not to waken Manus, and went up to the room. When she came up, the old fellow was raging there. Says he, "You might have milked all the cows in the county since, and me dead with the hunger here waiting on it. Give me my jug of milk," says he. "And what do you mean?" says she. "What does yourself mean, you old blatherskite?" says the old man, says he. Says she, "Didn't you come out to the byre and ask me for the jug of milk there, and didn't I give it to you, and didn't you drink it all?" "Be this and be that," says he. "But this is a nice how do you do. It's that scoundrel," says he, "in the kitchen that's tricked you again. And be this and be that," says he. "I'm going down now to have his life." And when she heard how she had been tricked, she was not a bit sorry to let him go and have Manus's life. But Manus had been listening with his ear to the keyhole to hear what was going on. And when he heard this, and while the man was preparing to go down and take his life, he hauled in a calf and put it by the fireside where he had been lying and threw the cover over it. And when the man came down with the sledgehammer, he went to the place where he knew Manus had been lying, and he struck with all his might, and he drove the hammer through the calf's skull, and the calf only just gave one moo and died. And then the old fellow went back to his bed content, and the miller went out and off home again. When the old fellow and his woman got up in the morning early to go and bury the miller, they found the trick he had played on them, and they were in a pretty rage. But when the breakfast was made this morning, and Donal and all of them sat down, I can tell you the old fellow was in no hurry saying grace, and Donal, he got his hearty fill for once in his life anyhow, and so did he at night. And when Donal was going back home on Monday morning, he leapt the mill race, and Manus came out and gave him a cheer. He took Manus's both hands, and he shook them right hearty. And every Monday morning after, for the 3 years that the old fellow lived, Manus always saw Donal leap the mill race as easy as a sparrow might hop over a rod. At the end of the 3 years, the old fellow died, and Donal went to live on the farm altogether, and there was no friend ever came to see him that was more heartily welcome than Manus the miller. Thank you. Bye-bye.